Hello everyone and welcome to not one but two games from yesterday's Speed Chess Championship clash between Wesley So and Vincent Keymer, and a lot of you were sort of weirded out by this, saying that how can Wesley play in the US Chess Championship and then on a rest day play the Speed Chess Championship, as long time ago they said that the Speed Chess ruined Arbakov, or maybe Blitz chess. If you play too much Speed Chess, your classical chess will suffer. And I don't know if that still holds up today, because most players are just so well prepared. Everyone has access to engines. Everyone has all of the resources needed to sort of become the complete chess player, that you can play Blitz, Bullet, classical, and just shift in between. I don't know if playing more speed chess will ruin your classical. I know that when I play, like sometimes on a Sunday, I play a classical game with my chess club against another club. We have a league here. My bullet rating tends to increase, maybe even 150 rating points for the next 3 days. So it's sort of as if playing a classical game puts my brain in some sort of a state where even if I'm playing speed chess, the moves are just better. So I don't know if playing speed chess will maybe deteriorate your longer games. But yeah, who knows? Botvinnik said it, so probably holds something. Whether it still holds today, I have no idea. But yeah, Wesley leading the US Chess Championship on a rest day. Takes on Vincent Keymer in the Speed Chess Championship 2025. So let's check it out. We're going to check out two games, one Blitz game and one Bullet game. This is from the 3+0 section, and it's Vincent with the black pieces, Wesley with white. Wesley opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. We have knight to f6, and now, unfortunately, not going for everyone's favorite knight g5, we have pawn to d3. The modern bishop's opening. Pawn to h6 and castles kingside, pawn to d6 and pawn to c3. We have pawn to g5, knight b to d2, and now bishop to g7. Looks pretty scary, but it's all been played before. Nothing new here. We have bishop to b3 and pawn to a5. Castles is the most played. Pawn to a5 is the second most played. We have knight c4, remaneuvering the knight over to e3, and then d5 or f5 if needed. Bishop to e6 and knight to e3. And Vincent strikes in the center with pawn to d5, to what Wesley replies with queen to e2. And bishop to a4 is a known move, knight to f5 is a known move. After queen to e2, it is now, as of move 11, that we have a completely new game. Okay, Vincent castles kingside. We have pawn to h3, stopping any pawn to g4 action, and pawn to a4, attacking the bishop, bishop c2, and Vincent goes to rook to e8. We have knight to h2, and now look at this. Pawn to d4, knight to f5, captures, and pawn to a3, completely ruining Wesley's pawn structure and just opening up this diagonal. And that will be a pretty big problem. We have rook to e1, queen d7, and now queen to f3, followed by rook 8 to d8 by Vincent. And now last chance to survive this with white is bishop to a4. But Wesley played rook to b1. And now Vincent is just completely winning, and it's everything comes together beautifully. Everything collapses like a house of cards. What would you play here if you were Vincent? While I give you a couple of seconds. The move that shatters all of Wesley's hopes to survive this game is, believe it or not, pawn to e4. And it doesn't matter what you play. You're clearing the e5 square for the knight. But even if you go queen d1, even if you don't capture, look at this. E captures on d3, bishop captures, rook captures with check, queen captures, d captures, and c3 opens up an attack on the bishop. Bishop has to move, and now even a move like knight d4, attacking the bishop, bishop b3, let's say rook e8, you attack the queen, bishop to e3, and now finally a captures on b2, and there's nothing you can do here. The two connected pass pawns are too strong, and of course if you capture on c3, knight e2 check picks up the queen with a beautiful royal fork. So d captures on e4 was played. We have knight to e5, and now look at this. Every move is amazing. Queen d1, d3. You have to react. We have bishop to a4. If bishop to b3, then of course pawn to d2. So bishop to a4, trying to survive, but pawn to b5. e5, and you will lose material here. We have pawn to f4, trying to maybe do something. Captures. We have bishop captures on f4. Vincent helps himself to a free bishop on a4, and now b captures on a3. Pawn to d2, and now rook to e2. We have knight c4, defending the pawn on c2. On d2, we have pawn to e5, and queen captures on f5, saying, okay, you've got nothing here. If you capture my knight on f6, then, well, anything can be played. You can capture on f2. You can also capture on e2. That is also perfectly fine. Queen captures, then queen captures on b1, then pawn to d1. So everything is winning here. So after queen captures on f5, rook to f2 was played, but now just knight to e4, and he was in this position on move 28 that Wesley so resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So maybe, you know, playing Blitz and Bullet on a rest day of the USGA Championship was not the greatest idea, but believe it or not, Wesley won this match. And now I'm going to show you another game, because they went into Bullet tie breaks as the match was equal. But yeah, here he resigned because, okay, rook is hanging after, let's say, rook f1, knight captures on e5, and no move for you. Even if you gobble up this pawn with tempo, as the black queen is hanging, doesn't matter. Queen e6, and how are you stopping this? You cannot go rook f2. If rook b2, then even knight c4. This is attacked. This is attacked. Everything is attacked. This is hard to even look at. But yeah, like I said, this is now one of the bullet games where Wesley had sort of a bullet winning streak. He won 3 games in a row, and look at this: pawn to d4. Vincent played pawn to b6. We have pawn to e4, pawn to b7. Bishop to d3 and pawn to e6. We have knight f3 and pawn to g6. Okay, so a pretty standard setup. This is the Owens defense. We have castles, bishop to g7 and queen to e2. We have pawn to d6 and now pawn to a4. Followed by knight to d7. A bit safer would be pawn to a6, as you know that a5 is coming, but Vincent doesn't care, plays knight d7. a5, we have rook to b8 and knight to c3. We have pawn to h6, pawn to a6, bishop to a8, and now knight to b5, knight to e7, and now knight captures on a7. And Wesley thought, okay, let's just grab a pawn and then go right back, but Vincent traps the knight, plays pawn to c6, or so you'd think. What do you play here? How do you get the knight back into the game? Well, you have to clear the b5 square, and you do that by playing pawn to d5. Now, it doesn't matter what black captures with, you will just recapture, and the b5 square will be cleared for the knight to land on. C captures, we have e captures, knight captures, and knight back to b5. So Wesley gives back a pawn, but he created a pass pawn on a6. We have knight to c5, bishop to c4, and castles kingside, rook to d1, and rook to e8. We have bishop captures on d5, e captures on d5, and now queen to f1, pawn to d4, and now knight b captures on d4. We have pawn to g5, pawn to h3, stopping pawn to g4, and now bishop to e4. We have bishop to e3 and now rook to a8. As you know that this game will be about the passed a pawn. We have pawn to b4 attacking the knight. Again, the strongest move in the position. We have knight to d7, b5, and queen to c7, followed by pawn to c4. So Wesley creating a beautiful pawn chain here on the queen side. Rook a to c8, and now knight to d2. Putting pressure on the bishop, bishop back to a8, and knight to f5. And while you would like to play bishop to f8, it doesn't really do all that much, and it's hard to say no to that rook on a1. You know that that bishop is probably the only thing holding your position together, but you know your position is already terrible. You might as well grab a rook. So that is what Vincent does. Rook captures pawn to f6, and now queen to d3. Wesley is starting a kingside attack that can only end in checkmate. We have knight to e5 attacking the queen. Queen captures on d6, Vincent declines, queen to h7, and queen captures on f6. We have knight to f7, bishop to d4. Now, if the black queen ever moves, even though it can't, you're just going to checkmate the black king. Rook cd8, Vincent ready to give up the rook for the bishop because the bishop is just much, much stronger here. a7, and now rook captures on d4, queen captures, sorry, not queen. You can also play queen captures. It's still winning even if you give up the knight, but there's no reason to do it. Knight captures. Here, Vincent played queen to d3, and Wesley said, all right, now we lock your queen out, knight to f5, and he was in this position on move 35 that Vincent Keymer resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So it was a really, really close match. It took Wesley all the way up to bullet tiebreaks to take down Vincent, but Wesley wins and he enters the quarterfinals of the Speed Chess Championship 2025. So maybe it's not that bad playing some speed chess after classical in the US Chess Championship, but we'll see. Maybe playing in the US Chess Championship made Wesley so much stronger in Blitz and Bullet, but will Blitz and Bullet now have consequences for Wesley going into round 5 of the US Chess Championship? We're going to find out today as he faces none other than Levon Aronian. Great stuff from Wesley. I thought it was, I thought Wesley will have the upper hand in the 5-minute section, but then I thought that going into lower, that Vincent will outplay him. But no, Wesley just showing that he can play bullet and any other format just as well. So brilliant stuff from Wesley. Very much looking forward to his game today in the US Chess Championship. We'll see how that goes. And what do you think? Is speed chess damaging for classical, or like my case, is classical good for bullet? Definitely something to ponder on. Hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Ulrich Thini, Gerard St. Pierre, The Word Weird, Brazos Valley Chess Society, and Francesco Corradi for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you also want to crush your opponents at Bullet and Blitz, you have to be extremely well prepared, and to do that, first link in the description below, download Lotus Chess and become completely prepared. See you soon.